Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Please state your name for the record.
Daniel Bevel.
Investigator Bevel, you were called in the state's case in chief. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
And my understanding is it correct that you began working for the sheriff's office, Greenville County Sheriff's Office, roughly in 2012? Is that correct?
That's correct.
And you've got a bachelor's degree from Troy University. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You testified about this previously, but briefly tell this jury what units you have served in the sheriff's office.
I started in patrol from 2012 to 2017. That's your standard uniform patrol deputies answering 911 calls, any kind of call for service. After that, I went to specialized investigations from 2017 on to, in there, I went to the Crimes Against Children unit from 2017 to 2019. That's any kind of child abuse, child neglect, child sex crimes. Then after that, 2019 to 2023, I went to the Internet Crimes Against Children unit. That's any kind of child exploitation.
Investigator Bevel, you talked about your time in the Crimes Against Children unit. When you're in a specific unit within the sheriff's office, do you receive specialized training associated with that type of unit?
Yes, sir.
Right. And so, when you were on the road in uniform patrol, did you receive specialized training related to that?
Yes, sir.
And when you were in the unit of the Crimes Against Children, did you receive specialized training in that discipline?
Yes, sir.
And let me show you Defense Exhibit 65. Just take a look at this for identification only.
Yes, sir.
Investigator Bevel, for example, that is the report you drafted for the purpose of the harassment investigation. Is that correct?
It is, sir.
And so this is of the kind of report you would draft depending on what investigation you were conducting or what tasks you were performing with the sheriff's office.
That's correct.
As an investigator, are you familiar with a phrase called the lead investigator?
Yes, sir.
And ultimately, the lead investigator is just that the investigator on a case who is ultimately responsible for the investigation. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And in this case, Investigator Sparkman would be deemed or likely be the lead investigator. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Were you also the lead investigator in another case in connection with this case? Let me ask it a different way. On October the 19th, 2021, did you become the lead investigator in another case?
Objection. State your objection. Objection. This is going to fall under your previous ruling. Okay. I will sustain the objection.
Okay. Your Honor, due to Your Honor's previous order with the restriction, I'm going to move on, and I'm going to move on. Investigator Bevel, you testified as you said, in the state's case in chief, and that was just last week, wasn't it?
Yes, sir.
And I would imagine you're still familiar with your testimony in the state's case in chief.
Yes, sir.
And I want to talk to you about that testimony. And specifically, I want to refer to a specific portion of it. Do you remember during your direct examination, you testified about mailers and the contents of mailers that you had been provided in the early summer and through the summer of 2021. Do you remember that testimony?
I believe so. Are you referring to the mailers as what I was given by
Yes.
Postman Parcell?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And you testified that those mailers had nude photographs of Christina Parcell in those mailers. Is that correct? Remember that?
Yes, sir.
And I've got a transcript. I want to ask you specifically about this exchange. Do you remember being asked by Mr. Wilkins, when you first got these photos, let me back up. Do you remember testifying about the fact there was a website listed on the photographs? Do you remember testifying to that?
Yes, sir.
And do you remember Mr. Wilkins asking you about questions about different fonts and different placement? Remember that?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember Mr. Wilkins asking you this question? Now, when you first got these photos, did you attempt to try to find the website on there? Do you remember that question?
Yes, sir.
And you testified, yes, sir. You remember that?
Yes, sir.
And then do you remember Mr. Wilkins asking you, how'd you do that? And you testified, I just typed the address into one of our computers in the office. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
And do you remember Mr. Wilkins asking you, and what did you find? And you testified that the website no longer worked. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
And then do you remember Mr. Wilkins asking you, so you put belladondigiorno.com Escort site and put it in your computer, and you responded, yes, sir. Do you remember that?
I believe so. Yes, sir.
And he asked you what happened, and you said, it just redirected me to another Escort website. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
And then then he asked you, were any of those photos on that Escort site? And remember, you testified no.
I'm sorry, I got an objection. Can I
I'm almost done. I'm one more line.
I'm gonna let him ask this question.
Do you remember Mr. Wilkins asked you, were any of those photos on that Escort site? And you responded, no, sir. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
And then just one more. Do you remember he asked you, was any pictures, or were any pictures of Christina Parcell on any of those websites that you found? And you testified, no, sir. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
Isn't it true that in the harassment report that I just showed you, Defense Exhibit
Your Honor, I've got another objection I need to make. I need to just put it on the record.
Your Honor, this is.
I'm sorry.
So again, let's pick up where we left off. I had reminded you of your testimony from last week, wherein you were asked the following about typing in this website. And you were asked what happened, and you testified it just redirected me to another Escort website. Then you were asked, were any of those photos on that Escort website? And you testified, no, sir. And then you were asked, which you previously testified to, were any of the pictures of Christina Parcell on any of those websites that you found? No, sir. You remember that testimony?
Yes, sir.
Isn't it true in your report on the harassment allegations?
Your Honor, leading.
Your Honor, he's an adverse witness, 611C. He testified for the state. He's a member of the Greenville County Sheriff's Office. I have every single right to lead him pursuant to the 611C.
Your Honor, he is their witness. They called him.
And
In
what-
direct examination. Witness. So I'm going to sustain the objection.
All right. Well, I'm going to show you Defense Exhibit 65 again. Look at this bottom paragraph. Would you please read what I have bracketed to the jury?
Yes, sir. I photographed the 6 envelopes and the contents of the open ones. The open ones were addressed to Brad Post. One contained black and white nude images of Parcell with the address checklist. The images have a web address of http://belladonna.escort-site.com. I checked this web address and it was not valid. It redirected me to another Escort site under a different URL. The other contained several of the same images but were not in color.
So isn't it true, based on this report, that you were redirected to other websites that had the same images that were in those envelopes? Isn't that correct?
No, sir.
Okay. Isn't that what you said in your report?
That's poorly worded on my part, but I meant the other envelopes. Same images were not in color.
What are you saying you meant?
The images that were in the other envelopes, not another website.
So didn't you say that you found these on the internet? Isn't that what you said in your report?
No, sir.
Tell me again what you said. Yeah, please read it again to the jury. Read it again.
Okay. It's okay if I go to the relevant part instead of
Yeah, and I've got a bracket there.
Okay. Photographed 6 envelopes and the contents of the open ones. The open ones were addressed to Brad Post. One envelope, or it just says one contained black and white nude images of Parcell with the address checklist. The images have the web address of http://belladonna.escort-site.com. I checked this web address and it was not valid. It redirected me to another Escort site under a different URL. The other contained several of the same images, but were in color. Now, like I explained, it's poor wording on my part, but I was referring to the other envelopes contained several of the same images, but they were in color. I wasn't referring to another website.
And in your report, you don't distinguish between envelopes and websites, do you?
Like I said, it was just poor wording, but I was referring to just other envelopes had the same images, just in color.
And isn't it true that it is very possible that those images could have been online and just taken down at the time you tried to look at them? Isn't that true?
In another website? Is that what you're referring?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
One second, Connor. Those are all the questions I would ask Investigator Bevel in this context. Yeah, I don't have anything further under examination.
You want me to please the court, briefly? Did you ever find naked photos of Christina Parcell on the internet when you checked?
No, sir.
It's because they didn't exist that you could find.
Not that I could find.
No further questions.
Nothing else, Your Honor.
Okay.
Your Honor, there is